it moves. I was not expecting.
After spending 2 years refitting a sailboat that was abandoned for over 22 years, we finally splashed our boat and we set sail, and for the next 2 years we sailed from the south of Brazil all the way to the Caribbean. But when we thought that our lives were stable, we decided to start all over again. We sold our boat and we moved to France, where we started designing and building our new dream, an aluminum sailboat. The problem? The boatyard went bankrupt halfway through the build and left us with an unfinished hull. And ever since we managed to rescue our boat from the boatyard, all our time is being spent fixing problems left behind by the boatyard. On the last episode we showed you a huge problem on the forward deck. On this episode we were supposed to show you another problem on the roof. But instead we decided that this week we want to have some light in the end of the tunnel. So instead of showing you another problem, we are gonna show you a project that we did from scratch. The first new addition to the new boat. And in a way, it's a project that is part of the reason why we decided to sell our old boat and to build a new boat. So, let's get started. Today's job is to try to figure out how to bend these sheets of aluminum. So, the cockpit's pretty much ready, but we need to build the seat on the stern of the boat. And that's really simple, to be honest. It's just get a bunch of aluminum, bend them to the right angle, weld them together, and you have a seat. The problem is that we don't have properly the plan of how to bend, like what are the measurements in between each bend and what is the angle. We only have the 3D model, and that's of course possible. You just get a 3D model and you extract the angles from the 3D model, but it's a little bit more complicated than it seems when you don't have experience on designing things on 3D. And now I'm just trying to figure out to make sure we have the right bends, because Robin is going to bend for us, but in order for them to bend, I need to give them exactly the measurements and exactly the angles, otherwise the plate's going to be wrong, and that would be a nightmare, because that means we need to rebend or to get a new plate, and I don't want to do that. So I took some measurements from the 3D model, and I'm hoping that I can transcribe that to the plates. Some of the plates are marked already, but I'm not sure if the angles are right, so I need to double check. So for example here, the bend needs to be at 53.74 millimeters from the edge. Here, 91.84 from the edge. You create a line, and in between this part of the panel and this part, we should have 105 degrees. That's the idea. I need to do that a few times. So now that I have all the angles on the plates of the stern seat marked, I'm gonna go to the factory, to Robin, and they're gonna bend for me to the angles I mark. Now we can start building the seat on the stern of the cockpit, and that's just so awesome. I also had the chance to fix another problem. So that's the thick chain plate for the back of the boat, for the backstay, and the hole for the chain plate for the stay to connect, the turnbuckle to connect to the chain plate was too small, and now it's big enough. So it was 10 millimeters. We want it 22, and the reason for that is because I can create another little pipe inside of stainless steel, and I can isolate from the aluminum. I can glue that in place with an isolation material, and then we are going to end up with a hole that is 16 millimeters, and the pin for the turnbuckle is 15.8, so that's perfect. So one last problem, and I think with that we are ready to start building the seat of the stern. That's gonna be so awesome. I can't wait to see the seat in place. Of course, the problem always comes after you, if you leave it behind, you pretend not to see. When we were designing the boat with the boat yard, we always had an impression that the spacing between the seat and the helm was too small. By the way, that's the first view of our helm station. So that's just stuck in place, just so we have a feeling to decide if we change the seat or not. You need to imagine that you still need to, and there is no steering wheel here yet. So today in the morning I have a simple task. I need to create a mock-up for the steering wheel of the boat, and in this way we can have the real feeling of the space. If we think there is not enough space, we can always cut the seat short, just make a narrow seat. Building a boat, a lot of the times it's just decision making. It's like, do you go this way or that way? And if you don't have that much experience, it's much harder, of course. If you build 50 boats already, you kind of know exactly what you want. It's hard to make a decision without having the entire setup in place. And today in the morning I'm going to try to somehow mock up a steering wheel, so in the afternoon Roberta and Oli can come. Roberta can see the steering position and she can feel the space also. Let's see what I can do. Good news! I think I still have a big enough piece. This is from the van, the original panel from the van. I think we can do a steering wheel from that. I don't know how special this is for you guys, but for me it's just have the feeling of the helm for the first time. Just awesome. Check this out. Yeah, now we have some thinking to do. The steering is in place. Of course it's not perfectly positioned, but it's like pretty close, and that's the worst case scenario. That is with a little extension because of the Jaffa system that we're gonna use. So you can see that it's really long here. We can even short a little bit, but I wanted to see in the worst case scenario just to make sure it's all good. I would prefer to convince myself that like this is good, because that means we just build as it is. We don't need to adapt a lot of things. What do you think? Of course you're gonna have one there and one there. You are also gonna be able to see through it, so it's gonna be less blocking the view. But that's pretty cool. That's 1 meter wheel. To be honest, I don't think we're gonna change it. I just need to confirm with Roberta, but it feels great actually. In this way we have a wider seat. It's much better to sit on the stern, and I really like to sit behind the wheel. I think it's really a really comfortable place, and you can sit to the side, you can sit on the end, you can look forward. I think it's pretty good. We're also gonna add a rail around here, so when you're standing up you can always have something to hold on. You don't need to hold to this, you don't need to hold to the steering wheel, you have something to grab your hands. Time for lunch. I'll bring Roberta and Ollie on the afternoon. It's time for the truth, time for my bosses to see the steering wheel for the first time, to see if they approve.
Oh, I like it. Thanks so much, patrons.
Oh, that's, yeah, it's the same one you use for the van.
I do like it, actually.
Looking from this angle, it's always gonna look good and the same. We need to go inside and check the space, because that's the most important thing. Let's go inside, Ollie. Vamos no barco. I'm gonna go inside. See you.
Oh, it moves. I was not expecting
Yeah,
that.
you're steering the boat.
I can see from here, and I can see from here pretty well.
So what do you think? Do we need to cut or not? That's the thing.
No, for sure not.
Now it's my turn. So I think when you're steering the boat, I don't see a problem at all. And also this hole here is good because the feet can go back.
Yeah. Remember, this is a 43-foot boat.
It's not a 80-foot boat, it's a 43. So I think that's it, we can keep building. And now we can sit here.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah.
It's so spacious comparing to the former boat.
Yeah, some people ask, why did you sell your boat? Because you had a perfect boat. Odd was really good, but it doesn't compare the size of the cockpit. One of the things we didn't like about Odd is the tiny, tiny little cockpit. Some people will say, yeah, but for offshore sailing it's even better because you have braces, and in a way, yes, but we can create braces in a big cockpit, and then we can have enough space to lay down on the cockpit, to sit more people in the cockpit. On Odd, you need to be really creative to find a place to sit during like 15, 20 days of crossings.
And also having friends around when we are on an anchor, it's really nice to have space to have them.
It's good to have the option. Ooh.
Welcome home.
So now that the family approved the seat on the cockpit, I'm gonna cut the second plate. So this plate goes in front of the seat, and on the design it had a hatch on the top. I don't really like the design of the hatch on the top. We're gonna leave closed on the top, but we're gonna open a hatch in front, like a little square, like I did yesterday. And the reason for that is because it's such a good volume that I don't want to waste and leave just locked like empty. So if I open a hatch on the front, I can have access and put like sandals and whatever, we can just store things inside. One really good tip is that I always knew that we could cut aluminum, thick aluminum, with a track saw, with a circle saw, but I never done before, and I thought it would be really hard because it would be really tough to cut. So I bought a blade that is made for aluminum, and the truth is, it cuts like butter. It's unbelievable. This 4mm cuts better than a piece of plywood on my old saw. The old saw was, I don't know, probably like not sharp anymore, but this cuts really, really well, and it's really easy, and that's a relief because there's a lot of times that I need to cut, I don't know, just fix some panels of aluminum, and I don't want to CNC cut them again because I need to take somewhere, it costs money, and if I have the saw, it's just, you just do it. So let's cut the second one, and then Peter is arriving and we can start assembling the whole seat. Just to be clear, this is not going to be weaker because one side was a hatch on the top, the other side was an opening in front, and the opening in front was much bigger. I don't know if you can see here the mark. This edge and this edge, this should be a much bigger opening. I don't think we need that big of an opening. This is enough. So I decided to leave this, so that means it's strong enough. So Peter went to the factory to try to get a bar that is 3 meters long, and the reason for that is because now we have the both seats tack, but they need to align as a straight line. The front part of the seat is a straight line from that point to that point, and right now it's not 100% straight, and the reason for that, I believe, is a deformation on the transom, because it's a really thick boat, like all the metals are thick, so if you bend a little bit different one side to the other, of course the transom is not exactly the same. So we need to see what we manipulate now. What do we need to bend more, what do we need to bend less? And for that, I think a straight line right in front, crossing right in front of the seat, is gonna make life a lot easier. This one looks awesome, the shape of the transom. That one we need to bend some, but that's metal work. You need just to weld and bend in place and weld again. That's the first feeling of the whole seat. Front part is not here yet, but I decided to cut a little bit larger the hole that I did before, and the reason for that is because I wanted to look kind of how do I say, symmetrical. So I did this thickness on the top and on the legs, so all looks the same. I think it's going to look better. The cockpit's coming along, that's pretty cool. So this first one is tacked in place. We managed to get the shape of the transom right now. That's awesome. This was one of the tricky parts because you need to get the round shape in a really thick plate. So the transom is 8 millimeters thick. What is not really thick, but is already kind of thick. So you need to shape that in a curved way. But the seat has the curve, so we just need to follow the curve of the seat and we get the perfect curve of the transom. Now we need to do the same with that seat, but we are worried that we are not aligning the front part. So now we want to guarantee that we are aligned. So Peter is going to get 2 square bars. We can put one on the bottom and one on the top, and in this way we guarantee that they are in a straight line. And then if that's true, then we can tack weld that one too, and then it's a matter of just keep welding. Finally a good day. This last week, the last 5 days, it's been tricky. We've been working on the deck, on the forward deck, and it seems like the more we work, the less progress we make. I do believe we already have the solution for the forward deck, but for now we're gonna just work on the stern seat so we can get more excited. You need to get some, I don't know how to say that, the mood back. You need to feel like you're winning before you keep going and fix something, because if you just feel like you're losing, it's just get worse and worse and worse. Today's winning feeling. I'm back. I came to check on my dad's work. Come with me. Last night we tack weld this seat in place and we tack weld this seat in place. Starboard seat I think is perfect. Port seat I think is a little bit too low. It could be the floor of the cockpit that's a little bit too low and then ends up too low. It could be many different reasons, but it's a little bit low. When I say a little bit, I mean like 2 millimeters is almost nothing. So my idea now, before Peter arrives, I'm gonna try to put the center seat in place to see if visually it makes any difference. It's hard to see for now, because we have one more problem, that this side is not tack welded all the way, and that means it's not straight yet. This line should be straight with these lines, like one continuous line. The level, I think it's pretty good. And by the way, the seat is huge.
Let's invite some patrons aboard.
Yeah, we will invite some patrons aboard to try that. I think I have good news for Peter. I want him to see in person. I don't think we're going to be able to see that. We just need to put that in place. Because right now, as you can see, the gap is not proper here because it's not in place there. So we need to clamp that in position, and then this is going to open up, and then we have a straight seat, and I think it's good enough. It's impossible to be 100% precise on everything. And if you go to the best boat yard, and I guarantee you, and if you measure every single little detail, it's not 100% to the design. It sometimes is 1 or 2 millimeters off the design. It's just normal. That's the way it is. Agreed? Let's keep going. Of course, in the end, Peter didn't accept to leave the seat as it was. He wanted to have it 100% right. So we decided to take it down and to rebuild, and this time in a perfect height. As you can tell, we have a stern seat.
Yay!
That's so awesome. What do
One
you
more
think?
project done. It's not done completely. We still have some finishings to do, some grinding, some hinges to be installed.
The finishings, we're gonna do one episode about the finishings of the cockpit, and we didn't do that for one reason. Because we are right now in current time working on the roof, and there is so much weld there that there is a lot of times that you drip weld or something goes, and you're gonna damage things. So we don't want to have the hinges in place before we fully finish the roof, otherwise we might damage something. This was a really good week, but don't worry, on the next episode we're gonna have problems again. We go back to the roof, because life is not only about rainbows, it's about fixing the problems.
This one, it was like...
Yeah, it was not that easy, to be honest. It was
Yeah.
harder than I believe it was gonna be.
Yeah. It's never straightforward.
In theory, it's just you get the plates and you tack weld them together, you fully weld them later, and that's it, it's done. But the reality is, in a boat that is 13 meters long, there is always a margin of mistake. Like there is always 2, 3, 4, 5 millimeters that the distance doesn't match the design, and that means whenever you are gonna actually weld, it doesn't fit. Or it's too long, or it's too short, or it's too bent. There's a lot of things to overcome, and also there is this thing that the transom, even though looking from there it's straight, it's not. It's a curve, and this curve needs to translate to a curve on the seat. And what creates the right curve to the transom is actually the seat, because the seat was CNC cut. This was just a flat plate, so we need to curve this plate according to the shape of the seat itself, and that can be really tricky, but I think we did a really good job. That was awesome. There is one problem that we don't know how to fix yet, because the platform, we're going to have some cables, like Dyneema cables holding the platform, and that means how can you go from the ladder to the platform when you have cables? I don't know yet, we'll find out.
If you have an idea, leave us a comment.
One more thing before we go. On the last episode, we had a lot of comments, not a lot, but a few comments saying that they don't trust the structure, the inside frames and stiffeners of our boat, that a normal boat should have more stiffeners and more frames, and that this is not safe. So we have a full video explaining the method of construction of this boat. That was also the method of construction of Odd, our last boat, that's called Strongo. That is, you have much thicker plates and then a lot less structure. And a lot of people name it other boats, like, oh, if you check Delos boat, or if you check Sailing into Freedom's boat, you're gonna see that you need a lot more structure inside. But what people don't see is that we have much thicker plates than they have. Our boat is smaller. Our bottom plate is 12 millimeters thick. It's like almost half-inch thick, so it's really, really thick.
There is even more stringers than the normal
certification. Yeah, so the thing is, back in the days, when meta was meta for real, not the meta that we got to know, like the real meta, they used to build boats with literally no frames inside and no stringers at all. The only reason why we have stringers and frames inside is because nowadays the certification won't allow you to do that. Even though, in theory, you could do that if you have a thick enough plate and it would be safe, but the certification wouldn't allow it, so we needed to add some frames.
So if you run the calculations, it was still great.
And also, just to guarantee, because we don't really, to be honest, at this point trust the yard, the new designers that we hired, that we are working with, they are running the calculation of the entire boat. And if they find it's necessary to have an extra frame, for example, we will still add the extra frame or the extra stiffener or stringer or whatever. They're going to run the calculations, because all of that is not like what you think. It's you have like an Excel sheet and you put the areas of each plate and the force and whatever, blah, 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 blah. And you either pass the certification or you don't. And the certification, if you pass, it's all good, because there's always a margin of problem. It's no problem.
Someone also asked, like, if we are changing the weight from the feet of the mast to the bow, are you going to change the center of gravity?
It will change a little bit, but also we don't have yet the design of the interior. We can always counterbalance with something else in a different spot. So we can change the position of the batteries, we can change the position of whatever equipment, and it's still in time to organize things in a way that the boats balance. And also remember that the original design of this boat was with the chain locker on the bow, was not on the feet of the mast. It was on the feet of the mast because we asked it to change. So the original design was already the chain locker on the bow, and also we didn't just change the chain locker to the bow without doing the calculations. The designers, the new ones, they're working on that. That's the whole reason why we hired them in the first place, was to be able to trust the boat again, because we also didn't trust the boat at some point. Let's see how big is the transom with Roberta there.
I'm short. How many of me?
That's
here?
Just to put in perspective, this week I was measuring the transom to be able to confirm that we have the right measurement for the stern arch. And the transom of our boat, if I recall right, is like 4.3 or 4.4 meters wide. What are you doing there? Just dating the boat? Roberta's just dating the boat.
Duca's mom is taking care of Ollie, so I have some time to spend here. So we are cleaning the boat now.
Like half an hour. Yeah, we're just cleaning everything, because during the week I don't have time to clean anything, and it becomes a mess because we're doing a lot of work on the roof, and there's a lot of grinding involved.
And it can contaminate the welds that are going to be done, right?
Yeah. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you enjoy having a positive one, because next one will be positive, but with some
in the end
it's positive, but it's always ups and downs. It's just, I guess,
like they call on the movies, they say that the history of the hero, right?
Yeah, the journey, hero's journey.
Hero's journey. There's ups and downs.
But we don't do that on purpose. We don't want. That's not script wise. That's just life. To be honest, right now I'm ready to have just positivity and no negativity at all. But that's life. That's things we need to grind, like things like this we still need to grind, but we're going to do that when we grind the entire boat, because we're just going to create dust right now. Now we can have a feeling of the real cockpit, and that's something that that's like, if you ask me what's the main reason why you would change out for another boat, I strongly believe number one was the cockpit, to be honest. I think it's close to
so many times to think about our way of changing the layout of the cockpit or not, but we couldn't. By the way, Odd is completing the
circumnavigation in a few months. Yeah, Odd is right now in Madagascar actually, and Odd is going to be in Brazil by April, I guess. So in a way, we gave life to a boat that did a circumnavigation. Even though we didn't do it, we feel like we have part of that, and that's really awesome. But also, I was gonna say, it's the cockpit and the deck saloon.
Yeah.
We spent months and months and months trying to solve that problem on Odd. And like, can we do that? Can we just cut the deck and build a deck saloon on Odd and change the cockpit, and then we don't need to replace the boat? Never ever. That's what we wanted to do at first. It's so much effort and money and time that is not worth doing that to a boat that it works in a way, so it's easier to do that in a second boat than doing that on that boat.
And also, Odd was really wet on the cockpit. It was always wet. And this one, the waterline, how do you call
freeboard.
The freeboard is gonna be way higher than on Odd.
She is naive. Roberta is naive. The thing is, our freeboard is high from the cockpit forward, on the transom, if you see, it's not that high. With big waves,
But
we are not.
Stay on the deck so long. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, no, but to be honest, our cockpit's really deep, and I think if we sit on the sides of the cockpit, there is no way you get away. It's just like so protected. It's really, really, really protected. I'm excited.
And usually when you're sailing, you are not on the helm. So that's
See, people say that I talk too much. Today, I have someone talking for me. Let's see if she wants to talk more a little bit.
I'm really happy with the cockpit.
Okay, we see you guys on the next one.
See you.